The stars glittered brightly in the cold silence of space. A small patched-up ship, the Vanguard, drifted through the empty void. Its crew, a mix of aliens from various races, sat tense and quiet in the cockpit. The ship's commander, a stout and grumpy being named Rock from the planet Xanthar, squinted at the screen, scanning for any sign of the object they had come for. Any sign of it yet? Rock grunted, turning to the technician, Lyra, a human with short, messy brown hair who had earned a reputation for her quick thinking. She flicked switches on the console. We've got something faint, but it's definitely there. A large object. It's not showing up on most charts. Whatever it is, it's been hidden for a long time. Good. Let's find out what we're dealing with, Rock ordered, leaning back in his seat. The rest of the crew, a quiet mix of species, one a towering Thrix, another a slender Vokite, were preparing for what they thought would be a simple salvage mission. They'd been hired by an anonymous contractor to investigate the source of a mysterious distress signal coming from deep within the quarantined zone, an area considered too dangerous for most. Rock wasn't one for danger, but a payday was a payday. If it's salvage, we grab it and leave, he said. No heroics. They neared the source of the signal, and before long the ship appeared on the scanners. It was massive, almost too large for its own good. A hulking, derelict vessel, drifting slowly in the void like a sleeping beast. Its dark, twisted shape didn't match anything from known civilizations, not even the ancient, long-dead races who had left their ruins across the galaxy. This ship was older than anything any of them had ever seen. Lyra's heart raced. It's huge. This can't be right. It's definitely not supposed to be here. Rock stood up and pounded a fist against the console. That's why we're here, Lyra. To see what's in it. Full scan now. The ship's massive size was just the start. The surface was covered with strange markings, scorched, weathered symbols that no one could decipher. It had the appearance of something that had been floating through the galaxy for millennia. Yet some parts of it were still faintly alive, glowing with an eerie blue light that pulsed in time with some unknown rhythm. Rock scowled. Let's board it. Find the source of that signal. Something's off about this whole situation. The Vanguard moved into position, docking with the derelict ship with a series of low mechanical clicks. The crew began donning their spacesuits, preparing for the unknown. They weren't worried about oxygen. It was a derelict, but they'd been trained for this. It was the other unknowns that made them uneasy. Stay alert, Rock muttered, checking his weapon. This ship could have anything on it. The airlock hissed open and they stepped onto the derelict ship. Inside, it was dark, the only illumination coming from the faint blue lights that ran along the walls, like veins of a great sleeping creature. The ship's internal temperature was cold, uncomfortably so. As they made their way through the long, winding halls, they saw strange carvings etched into the metal, like something trying to reach out from the past. They passed rooms filled with alien artifacts, broken machinery, and, most troubling of all, the skeletons of creatures that didn't resemble anything in the galaxy's known records. Who could have built this? Lyra asked, her voice shaky as she examined the skeletal remains of what appeared to be a giant, insect-like creature. Rock shook his head. I don't care who built it, just what we can take. Let's get to the signal source. The ship seemed to groan beneath their feet, a low, unsettling noise that echoed in the vast hallways. They followed the signal, which grew stronger as they moved deeper into the ship's bowels. The air grew thicker, and their breaths came out in short gasps. The temperature dropped further, sending shivers down their spines. The team reached a large central chamber. It was a room like no other they had encountered. The walls were made of a strange, fleshy material, soft and organic, but also hard like bone. In the center of the room stood a gigantic console, its surfaces alive with strange symbols and glowing runes, but it was what stood near the console that caught their attention. A figure. Human. Rock stepped forward, eyes narrowing. What in the stars? The figure was a woman, dressed in a heavily worn exosuit, its metallic surface scratched and battered. She was sitting near the console, her back turned to them, humming softly as she worked. A long, dark braid of hair hung down her back, the rest of her face hidden behind the helmet. Lyra gasped. "Is she alive?" The woman turned slowly, and the crew could see the faintest glint of a smile beneath the visor. "Oh, I'm alive, all right," she said, her voice rough but steady. "But you're not supposed to be here." Rock's hand immediately went to his weapon, but the woman's raised hand stopped him. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," she warned, her voice carrying an edge of authority. "I'm the one who's been keeping this ship from waking up, and trust me, if it wakes, you won't like what happens next." The crew stood frozen for a moment. Then Rock, sensing the tension, spoke. "You're human?" he asked, astonished. The woman's laugh was bitter. "Yeah, I'm human, and I've been here for a very long time. Too long, probably." The crew exchanged confused looks, but before anyone could ask another question, the woman's gaze turned serious. "You need to leave. Now." Rock's eyes narrowed. "Why? What's so dangerous about this ship?" The woman stood, her movements stiff and slow, as though she hadn't stretched in years. "This ship is alive, and it devours everything it encounters. You've triggered something it doesn't like. If we don't stop it soon, it's going to start using you as fuel. Now I suggest you listen to me if you want to leave here alive." The crew was silent, their uncertainty growing. The ship's pulse, which had been faint before, began to quicken. Something had changed. They had no idea yet just how dangerous this mission was going to be. The crew of the Vanguard stood frozen. The human woman, covered in scars and dust, looked more like a ghost than a survivor. Her voice was calm, but there was something behind it, something hard, something that had seen too much. Rock cleared, his throat, trying to keep control. "Who are you?" he asked, taking a step forward. "How long have you been on this ship?" The woman didn't answer right away. She turned her back to them and pressed a few buttons on the glowing console. Strange. Symbols danced across the surface. The pulsing blue light in the walls dimmed for a moment, then returned. She seemed to be keeping the ship under control. "My name is Captain Alara Voss," she said finally. "I came here 23 years ago. My crew is gone. I'm the only one left." The crew stared at her, stunned. Lyra stepped forward slowly. "Wait, 23 years? That's impossible. Humans have only been part of the coalition for about 100 years. No one even knew about this ship." Alara gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We weren't part of the coalition back then. My team was part of a deep space exploration mission. We came here looking for answers. What we found was something we couldn't even understand." She paused, then turned toward them. Her helmet hissed and slid back, revealing her face. Her skin was pale, her eyes sharp, and dark circles marked the years of sleepless nights. "This ship isn't just a ship," she said quietly. "It's alive. It's a biomechanical construct. It came from a Class 15 death world, a planet so dangerous that no civilization ever survived there for long. Except this thing did." The Thrix crew member, a massive alien named Varn, grunted. "We were told the signal was just a distress beacon, a salvage mission." "It was a trap," Alara said. "It always is. This ship sends out signals to lure ships here. Once they dock, it studies them, and then it feeds on them." Rock's voice was tense. "Feeds? What do you mean?" "I mean," Alara said, "it breaks them down. Physically, biologically. It uses their bodies, their machines, their data. It grows stronger with each ship it consumes. My crew tried to stop it. We failed." She tapped a button on her wrist. A small hologram appeared above her arm, an image of her old ship, the Helios Dawn, surrounded by alien shapes. Then an explosion. Silence. Rock frowned. "Why didn't you leave?" Alara looked down. "I was the only one left, and I knew that if I left, This ship would send out more signals, find more victims. So I stayed. I've been keeping it asleep. Just barely. The ship shuddered. The lights flickered again. Ilara's eyes narrowed. But now that you're here, it's waking up faster. Lyra stepped forward, alarmed. Can we shut it down, maybe destroy it? Ilara looked at her. Maybe, but it's not that simple. The ship is ancient. It has a core deep inside, a kind of brain. That's where it controls everything. To stop it, we need to reach that core and insert a virus I've been building from old code fragments. But the way is dangerous. The ship doesn't like intruders. Suddenly, a loud screech echoed through the hallway behind them. Everyone turned, weapons raised. Something was coming, heavy, fast, and not natural. Ilara's face went cold. It started already. A dark shape lunged from the shadows, an alien creature made from metal and flesh, its limbs too long, its eyes glowing blue. It screamed and charged. Down! Varn roared, tackling the beast midair. His thick armor clanged as they hit the floor. The others fired their weapons, plasma bolts and energy beams slicing into the creature. It screeched one last time, then fell still. What was that thing? Rock shouted. Ilara checked her weapon, a homemade railgun made from broken tech. It was part of your ship's AI. The ship took it, twisted it. It's only the beginning. Lyra's hands were shaking. We need to leave. You can't, Ilara said sharply. Once the ship wakes fully, it won't let you go. It can control gravity, airlocks, engines, even your thoughts if it gets deep enough. That thing you just killed, it's not the worst. Varn stood, breathing heavily. His armor was scratched. Then we fight our way to the core. Ilara looked at him and nodded. That's the only way. But I need to warn you. My crew tried. We lost people on every level. This ship learns. It changes. The path to the core is never the same twice. Rock sighed. Then we better start moving. Lyra, Varn, core, gear up. We go in 5 minutes. Ilara nodded. I'll guide you. I know the shortcuts, and I've mapped out most of the weak points. But we'll need to hurry. The deeper we go, the more alive the ship becomes. The crew quickly prepared. Ammunition was checked. Suits sealed. They knew this wasn't a salvage mission anymore. This was survival. As they left the chamber and moved deeper into the ship, the walls seemed to watch them. The air was thick and heavy. Somewhere far away, something breathed. And in the dark corners of the ship, it began to wake up fully. The hallways of the alien ship grew darker as the team moved deeper inside. Strange lights flickered along the walls, like veins glowing under skin. The metal beneath their boots pulsed faintly, as if the ship had a heartbeat. Captain Ilara Voss led the way, her railgun ready. Behind her followed Rock, Lyra, Varn, and the silent insectoid tech, Core. Each step took them further from safety and closer to the ship's core, the only place where they could shut it down for good. This part of the ship wasn't like this before, Ilara whispered, glancing around. What do you mean? Asked Lyra. I've walked these halls for years. They're changing. The layout's different now. It's reacting to you. New minds. New bodies, Rock grunted. So the ship is watching us. Ilara nodded. Always. They passed through a twisted corridor where the walls had folded in, forming narrow paths. Strange whispers echoed in the distance, words in no known language. The sound crawled under their skin. Varn raised his weapon. I don't like this. Something's moving up ahead. They reached a wide chamber. Its ceiling stretched into darkness. The floor was made of cracked glass over what looked like an ocean of stars. As they stepped in, lights activated, revealing figures, statues of creatures from different species. Some of them looked familiar, some didn't. One looked like a human. They're not statues, Ilara said. They're real. Preserved. The ship keeps samples of everything it eats. Lyra stepped back, eyes wide. This thing's a graveyard. No, Ilara said, it's a collector. It wants to understand life, but not in a kind way. It studies, copies, and destroys. My team tried to reason with it at first. But it doesn't care about peace, it only wants to grow. Suddenly, the floor shuddered beneath them. A deep sound like a growl rumbled through the ship. The statues began to twitch. "Run!" Elara shouted. The crew ran across the chamber as the glass cracked. One of the preserved figures broke free, a twisted version of a Vokite, its body stretched and deformed. It screamed and leapt at Core. The insectoid tech dodged, firing a blast of energy that hit the creature in the chest, sending it tumbling into the void below. They made it to the far door. It slid open just in time, and they slammed it shut behind them. "We're getting closer," Elara said, breathing heavily. "The ship is testing us now." "You've seen all this alone?" Rock asked, shaking his head. "I survived it alone," Elara replied. "But not without scars." They moved on, deeper into the ship's belly. The air grew hotter, and the walls began to change. No longer smooth metal. They looked more like muscle and bone. The lights flickered red now. The ship was waking up, its true nature showing itself. Lyra checked her scanner. "There's energy building near the core. It's increasing fast." "It knows we're coming," Elara said. "It'll try to stop us soon." They reached a long corridor with thick metal doors at the end. Elara raised her hand. "This is one of the last safe zones. Beyond that is the ship's spine, its nervous system. Everything beyond here is alive and will fight back." Varn cracked his knuckles. "Good. Let it try." Rock looked at Elara. "Are we even sure the virus will work?" "It has to," she said. "I've spent years piecing it together from broken code, human tech, and parts of the ship itself. I've never had the chance to reach the core until now." "And if it doesn't?" Lyra asked quietly. "Then this ship will wake up completely," Elara said. "And it will send signals across the stars again, to your worlds, to mine." A heavy silence followed. Rock broke it. "Then we go forward. We finish this." They opened the door. Beyond it, the corridor was no longer metal. It was a tunnel of shifting flesh and bone, lit by pulsating lights that followed their steps. Strange growths covered the walls, eyes, arms, fragments of machines. The ground was uneven, soft in places, sharp in others. It was like walking inside a creature. As they moved, the tunnel shifted behind them, closing off their way back. "No retreat," Elara said. "Only forward now." Suddenly the walls trembled. A roar echoed through the ship, not of a machine, but something angry, alive. Shapes began to rise from the walls, creatures grown from the ship's memory. One looked like a twisted version of a Thrix, its limbs too long, its skin metal and bone. Another had no face, only a mouth full of teeth. "Fight!" Rock shouted. Blasts of energy filled the tunnel. The crew fought hard. Varn wrestled one creature to the ground and crushed it. Lyra used a plasma cutter to slice through another. Core used a shock pulse to freeze one in place. Elara fired her railgun with deadly aim, taking down 3 in a row, but more kept coming. Elara looked ahead. "The core's just beyond this tunnel. We have to push through." They charged forward, cutting and blasting their way through the nightmare creatures. The walls screamed, the lights flickered, and the ground shook beneath them. Finally, they reached a large door, a sealed entrance covered in glowing blue veins. "This is it," Elara said. "Beyond here is the brain." Rock looked back at the closing tunnel. "Can we get out after?" Elara shook her head. "Doesn't matter. We stop it, or we die." Trying, she pressed her hand to the door. The blue veins pulsed, scanned her, and then slowly pulled back. The door opened with a deep hiss. Inside was silence. The room was huge. In the center floated a massive structure, part machine, part flesh, beating slowly like a heart. Wires and nerves extended from it, reaching into every part of the ship. "The neural core," Elara whispered. "We're here." As the crew stepped in, the lights turned red, and the ship spoke. The crew froze. The voice was not loud, but it pressed into their minds, cold and heavy. It felt like being underwater, pulled down by a current they could not see. Captain Elara Voss stepped forward, shoulders squared. "We're not here to be part of you," she said. "We're here to end this." The core floated above them, a mass of pulsing nerves, wires, and strange lights. The walls around it were alive, moving slightly like breathing. Thick cables ran into the brain from every direction. Inside them something glowed, a strange blue liquid that looked like plasma. Lyra checked her scanner, hands shaking. "It's aware of us, fully now. Energy levels are spiking." Rock raised his weapon. "Can we destroy it?" "No," Alara said. "Not like that. It's too strong. We need to get to the control node inside the core. That's where I upload the virus." "Core?" The insectoid tech moved toward the back wall, connecting a small drone. "The structure is changing shape, it's sealing exits," Varn growled. "Then we move fast, no delays." They stepped into the chamber carefully. As they did, the lights grew dim, and strange shapes began to form from the walls. Humanoid, figures made of bone and wires. These were not statues. They were alive. One of them moved suddenly, stepping toward the group. Its face was a hollow mask, and its arms ended in long, sharp blades. "You will be studied, dismantled, improved." It charged. Alara fired first, her railgun sending a bolt of energy through the creature's chest. It exploded into bone fragments and sparks, but more were coming. Dozens of them crawling from the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. "Hold them off," Rock shouted. The battle began. Plasma bolts lit the chamber. Varn fought like a wild animal, his heavy fists smashing bone soldiers into dust. Lyra ducked behind a console, using her plasma cutter to strike from cover. Core used shock grenades, sending bursts of energy that slowed the enemy. Alara made her way to the central platform, dodging attacks, firing with calm precision. She reached a console near the brain. It was shaped like a twisted tree, glowing blue where her handprint would fit. She placed her palm on it. The lights turned red. A deep voice echoed again. "You are the lost one. The broken. You could have been." "Great." Alara's eyes narrowed. "I chose to be human, not part of this horror." She opened her suit's control panel and connected her data port to the console. Lines of green code flowed across the screen. Her virus, her last hope. "Uploading," she said. "Cover me!" A wave of creatures rushed the platform. Rock and Varn jumped onto the steps, holding the line. Varn took hits that would have crushed others, but he kept fighting. His armor sparked, blood dripping from his arm, but he didn't fall. Lyra joined, them firing shot after shot. "We can't hold them forever." Core activated a pulse field, giving them a few seconds of breathing space. Alara stared at the data stream. It was fighting her. The ship's mind was intelligent. It was rewriting her code, pushing back. "Come on," she whispered. "Just hold a little longer." Then a creature dropped from the ceiling, twisted, huge, and fast. It slammed into the platform, knocking Lyra to the floor. Rock turned too late. The monster was about to crush her. A loud boom echoed. The creature's head exploded. Alara stood over it, her railgun smoking. She reached out and pulled Lyra to her feet. "You okay?" Lyra nodded, breathless. Yeah, thanks." "Keep firing," Alara said. "It's almost done." Suddenly, the voice changed. It no longer spoke words. Instead, it screamed. A sound that wasn't heard through ears but through the bones. A deep, cold scream of fear. The virus was working. The core flickered. Lights across the ship began to die. The creatures stopped moving, twitching like puppets with cut strings. Alara disconnected her cable. "It's in," she said. "It's spreading." The chamber shook violently. Pieces of the ceiling began to fall. "Run!" Rock shouted. They turned back the way they came, but the path was collapsing. Fire poured from cracks in the walls. The ship was dying, and it was taking everything with it. "There's a maintenance shaft on the west side," Alara yelled. "Follow me." They sprinted through a side tunnel. The walls were tearing apart. A storm of debris and heat chased them. Core almost slipped, but Lyra grabbed his arm. Alara reached a sealed door and slammed her hand onto the control panel. Come on, come on." The door opened. They jumped inside as the tunnel behind them caved in. Darkness. Silence. Only the sound of their heavy breathing filled the escape pod. The room was small, barely holding 5 people. It smelled of rust and old air. They had made it. But the ship behind them was burning from the inside. Out of a small side window, they saw the giant vessel twisting in space, its lights flickering like dying stars. Then slowly, silently, it collapsed in on itself. The ship was gone. Ilara sat down, her back against the wall, her eyes closed. "It's over," she said quietly. Rock looked at her. "You did it." "We all did," she replied. "Together." For the first time in years, Ilara allowed herself to breathe. Not just to survive, but to rest. But far in the distance, beyond the broken stars, another signal blinked to life. The escape pod drifted silently through space. Inside, the air was thick with silence, heavy breaths, and the low hum of old systems barely holding together. The battle was over. The monstrous ship, half machine, half living nightmare, had been destroyed. But no one spoke. Not yet. Captain Ilara Voss sat with her eyes closed, her back against the metal wall. Her body ached, but she had felt worse. Much worse. She had survived alone inside that horror for over 20 years. But now she wasn't alone. And something still didn't feel right. Lyra stared out the small round window. "It's gone," she whispered. "Really gone." Rock nodded slowly. "We saw it fall apart. Core shut down. Structure collapsed. It's finished." But Ilara didn't speak. Not for a full minute. Then quietly she said, "It's never that easy." The others turned to her. "What do you mean?" asked Varn, his deep voice echoing in the tiny room. Ilara opened her eyes. "Before we left, before I uploaded the virus, the ship sent out something. A signal. I saw it, just for a second. It wasn't just a scream, it was a message." Core, the insectoid technician, clicked his mandibles. "Coordinates?" "Maybe," Ilara replied. "Maybe more than that. The ship was part of something bigger. I think it was a scout, a probe, a weapon sent from a world we've never seen." Rock cursed under his breath. "You're saying there could be more of these things?" "Yes," Ilara said. "And that signal, it didn't go to just one place. It went in every direction." The pod's control panel blinked. A red light flashed, followed by a beeping sound. Core quickly crawled over and tapped at the buttons. "Message incoming," he said. "Encrypted, not from coalition channels." The team leaned in as a voice crackled through the speaker. The sound was rough, broken by static, but it was clearly human. "Unknown pod. Identify. You are not in a safe zone. Evac requested." Lyra looked at Ilara, surprised. "It's Earth Command." "I thought we were too far out," said Rock. "We were," Ilara replied. "Before the ship started jumping. That thing moved faster than any warp drive. I think we're close to human space again." Core worked quickly to respond. "Sending reply now. Coordinates locked. A recovery team can arrive in 2 hours." Relief spread through the crew. "We made it," Lyra whispered, smiling weakly. But Ilara still looked uneasy. "No, we survived. There's a difference." The pod shook suddenly. Not from impact, but from a strange vibration. The lights flickered. Everyone froze. Core tapped at the controls again. "Something's wrong. External scan showing interference." "From..." "What?" asked Rockeye. Core's voice was tight. "From inside the pod." Silence fell. Then, from behind the rear wall came a soft tapping sound. Slow, deliberate. Tap. 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 Varn stood immediately, weapon raised. "Something's here with us." "That's not possible," Lyra said. "We sealed everything." Ilara moved slowly to the wall and placed her ear against the cold surface. Her eyes narrowed. "It copied something," she whispered. The wall behind her split open, not with fire or explosion, but like skin pulling apart. A hand reached through, metallic, bone and wire, but human-shaped. The team jumped back as a figure, stepped out of the wall. It looked like Alara, same face, same eyes, but wrong. The expression was empty, cold. It wore a black version of her suit. And its voice, when it spoke, was not hers. The signal was received. More are coming. We are the future. Rock fired. The blast hit the figure in the chest, tearing through it, but it didn't fall. It just smiled. Varn charged with a roar, slamming into it. They crashed against the wall. Sparks flew. The figure fought back fast and strong, too strong. Alara grabbed her railgun and aimed at the base of its skull. "Not my future," she said, and pulled the trigger. The blast hit true. The fake Alara collapsed, twitching. Its body began to melt, turning into black liquid metal that oozed into the floor. Alara stepped back, breathing hard. "It used the time we were escaping. Took my data. Made a copy." Core was already checking the pod systems. Core breach blocked, no full control. But if it had a few more minutes. Rock looked around. "Are we safe now?" "No," Alara said, "but we're alive." The pod began to shake again, but this time in a steady rhythm. A ship was approaching. The recovery team. "Pick up in 2 minutes," Core confirmed. "Human-class rescue cruiser." As the ship docked, Alara sat near the door and looked at the others. "You all fought well," she said. "Most people would have run." "We're not most people," said Varn with a grin. The hatch opened with a hiss. Clean air rushed in. Armed soldiers from the human cruiser stepped in, their weapons lowered when they saw the survivors. "Captain Alara Voss?" one of them asked. "That's me," she said, standing. "You're coming with us. Earth Command wants a full report." Alara stepped onto the ship and turned back to look at the others. "I hope this is the end of it," Lyra said quietly. Alara gave a small, tired smile. "It's not the end," she replied. "It's the beginning." As the hatch closed behind them, far away, beyond human space, in the dark between stars, other signals began to blink. Quietly, patiently. The old galaxy had noticed humanity, and now it was watching. The human cruiser Aurora moved gracefully through the darkness of space, its sleek shape cutting through the void. On board, the survivors of the Vanguard were given quarters and fresh supplies. The team had been debriefed briefly, their wounds tended to, but there was no real rest for any of them. Alara, Rock, Lyra, Varn, and Core were all still on edge. None of them could shake the feeling that something was still wrong. Alara sat alone in a small observation room, looking out at the stars. The endless black stretched before her, dotted with the glow of distant suns. Her mind raced, remembering the strange copy of herself, the human-like creature that had emerged from the wall. It had spoken about a future, about more being on the way. Her heart sank at the thought. They had destroyed the bioship, but what if it was just the beginning? The door behind her slid open. Rock stepped inside, his eyes tired but determined. "You should get some sleep," he said, his voice low. "We'll get a full briefing when we reach Earth." Alara didn't turn. "I don't think I can sleep, not yet." Rock sat across from her, studying her for a moment. "That's because you're still thinking about the signal, right?" Alara nodded slowly. "I keep hearing it in my head. That message, it wasn't just a warning. It was an invitation. And it's not the first time." Rock sighed. "We barely got out of that nightmare alive. Now you're telling me there's something worse coming?" "Not worse," Alara said, her eyes darkening. "Different. This isn't the first ship to have been sent out. The one we destroyed. It wasn't alone. That signal, it's calling to others. Others just like it. And they're going to be much, much harder to fight." She stared at the stars again, feeling the weight of it all. She knew the world wasn't ready for what was coming. Humanity wasn't ready. Before Rock could speak again, the voice of the ship's AI crackled over the intercom. "Captain Voss, please report to the bridge. Urgent matter." Alara stood up, her gaze sharp. "Let's go." The bridge of the Aurora was quiet, the crew moving about their duties, but all eyes turned toward Alara and Rock as they entered. The commander, a tall woman with dark hair, stood at the main console, her expression grave. "Captain Voss," she said, nodding in acknowledgement. "We've received new orders from Earth Command. It's urgent." "Let me guess," Ilara said, crossing her arms. "It's about the signal." The commander nodded. "Yes. We've been instructed to jump to coordinates in the outer sector. We've intercepted another signal. It matches the one you encountered. It's coming from a system just outside of known human space." Ilara felt a chill run through her. "That's impossible. How could they have gotten so far?" "We don't know," the commander replied, "but Earth Command believes that this is part of something larger. That signal is an invitation, just like you said. And this time we don't have the luxury of waiting. They're coming." Rock leaned in. "Coming? As in coming here?" The commander nodded. "That's what the data suggests. Earth Command wants to meet this threat head-on before it reaches us." Ilara's mind raced. They had no idea what was out there, what these things were. They had only destroyed one ship, but it wasn't the heart of the threat. The true source was still unknown, and now they were marching straight toward it. "Then we need to prepare," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the anxiety building inside her. "We can't go in blind. If there's any chance of stopping this, we have to gather everything we can." "We're already en route," the commander replied. "We'll be in range within the hour. But we need your expertise, Captain. Your mission. Your team. Earth Command wants you on the front line." Ilara looked around at her team. Rock, Lyra, Varn, Kor. All of them had seen the worst of it. But this was different. If they were right, they were heading into the unknown. Again, into a place where even their best weapons might not be enough. "We'll do what we can," Ilara said, standing taller. "But we can't take this lightly. If these things can think, if they can adapt—" "I know," the commander said. "That's why we need you." The Aurora dropped out of hyperspace, into the darkness of a starless system. Before them, a cold, lifeless planet orbited a dying sun. The coordinates had led them here, but nothing seemed to make sense. Lyra tapped at her console. "No signs of life. Nothing here except the signal. It's coming from the surface." "Prepare the team," Ilara said, her voice hardening. "We're going in." The shuttle descended, its engines cutting through the stillness. As they neared the planet's surface, the signal grew stronger, a repeating pattern, like a heartbeat. And with it, a growing sense of dread. The shuttle landed in a barren wasteland, dust swirling around them. The air was thin, barely breathable, but it wasn't the conditions that worried Ilara. It was the feeling that something was watching them. Waiting. They moved cautiously, weapons ready. The signal seemed to be coming from a structure ahead. It was old, ancient even. As they approached, the ground beneath their feet began to hum and the very air seemed to tremble. Suddenly the ground cracked open and from the depths, something massive began to rise. It wasn't a ship. It was something else, an enormous living thing pulsing with energy. Its surface rippled like skin and its eyes blinked open, glowing bright with intelligence. Ilara took a step back. "It's alive. We need to stop it," Roke said. "But," Ilara shook her head, "it's not just a weapon. It's a message, a test. And we've passed." The creature opened its mouth wide, releasing a sound that echoed across the planet's surface. A wave of energy shot out, knocking them all to the ground. The signal had stopped. In the silence that followed, Ilara stood. "We're not alone. This is just the beginning." As the team recovered and prepared for the next phase of their mission, the stars above seemed a little less distant. The message had been received. Humanity was no longer hidden in the shadows. But now they knew. The galaxy was watching. And humanity. They had just shown the galaxy that they were ready.